Beetlejuice.
It's showtime.
Hello everyone and welcome to Action RPG. I'm your host Aaron, and for today's video we're headed to the world of the newly launched 1.0 action RPG Slormancer. And for this video I'm going to try and tell you why you should absolutely buy it. Now I want to be clear right at the beginning of the video, this is not sponsored. I'm not telling you to pick it up because I am being paid. This is not a sponsored video. Also, this game, a lot of people get it confused. This isn't a roguelite or a roguelike or an auto battler or vampire survivors. This is a full-blown isometric action RPG. It's a hack and slash. It's a Diablo-like. It's an Exile-like. It's an Epoch-like. This is an ARPG with campaign and dark humor and lore and character progression and everything you have come to find in an action RPG. I'm going to try and showcase that for you today. So let's jump into the video. So now I'm going to break down the classes for Slormancer, and before I do that, I probably should just put it in the intro. This game has been in development over 6 years, 4 years of early access, and yesterday it dropped 1.0 game launch, feature complete Slormancer. This is now my third playthrough, and that's why we were streaming it all day yesterday on Aaron Action RPG on Twitch. It would cost you a whopping $15. Okay, so keep that in mind as I'm showcasing this game. It is a $15 game, feature complete. You don't hear that very often. All right, here we go. Now, when it comes to your heroes, you have the Mighty Knight, the Fierce Huntress, and you have the Mischievous Mage. And the Mage is what I am playing right now. People ask me if I could make a Necromancer in this game, so I kind of sought out to do that. And that's why we're playing the Mage. But there are minions in this game, there are totems, there's bow, there's poison, there's spin to win, everything you have come to expect. Now, each one of these classes has 3 masteries, or another way of putting that is 3 ascendancies. So there is 9 different ways to play Slormancer from a class and power fantasy in the game. But you do have melee with the knight, and the knight can throw, so it can go ranged as well. You could go melee or ranged with the Fierce Huntress, with dagger attacks, or just shooting your bow. This is the way that I played it first 2 run-throughs. And the other way you could play is the Mage, and the Mage also has melee attacks and clones and spells. So you can kind of pick which power fantasy you enjoy. So now let's talk about my favorite topic inside of an isometric action RPG, and that is character progression, itemization, tinkering, build making. What can you actually do with your character in this game? Excellent question. Now in here you have 12 different items that you equip, and this game is all about loot and gear, just like any other action RPG. And there's 5 different rarities of items. You have white, green, blue, yellow, and orange. Orange being the top item, and that is legendary, and legendary items can also have legendary effects, which can also be build enabling. There's crafting in the game, which I will show you, but lots go into itemization. But your main important item is your weapon, and you will see here that this is kind of the weapon codex, and I have found 16 staffs so far, 16 in about 12, 13 hours of playing. And you're like, oh, 16, is that good or bad? Well, how many are there? There is 95 different staffs in the game, and I have only found 16. And this item is extremely important. When you find one of these, the screen like pops up and it's like, you have found the blah, and it like flashes on the screen. And it's because your weapon is very build defining. So for example, this weapon, the sharpshooter, is for projectiles. The gold plated is for thorns. This one's for life regen and primary resource. This is for melee recast. This one's for ancestral strike. This one's for mana stacking. The nimble staff is for if you think you can play without getting hit, you get a bunch of bonuses. Power crystals. All of these different staffs offer so many unique and different benefits. Right now I am playing a mana stacking mage, which means my skill does more, or has more power based upon my maximum mana. So I'm using the mana and max mana staff. So you can see how you could tie these things together and make it build enabling. Very, very cool from the weapon standpoint. You also have attributes. So on here you have toughness, savage, fury, determination, zeal, willpower, dex, and bravery. And why am I going into zeal? Because this is the one that gives us some ancestral critical strike, but more importantly, it gives us the most maximum mana. And what's great about this system is, I don't want that anymore. I don't want those points there. I want them here, or I want them here. You can respec at any time, and you don't have to worry about paying some kind of cost, so you can tinker and move things around. The game also has a very extensive character sheet. So on here, it's going to break down all of your stats, and you can see everything here. And when I show you the skills, it's also got tooltip DPS as well. So you can see exactly what your character is doing with really good items, or really good breakdown of your character. Now let's talk about skills. So this is our mischievous mage. And I said kind of in the intro that you have different masteries in the game. And on here is our specializations. So you could be basically a scholar, the caster, or the commander. Like I said, we set out to be necromancer, so we picked the commander. Now the way it works is you have your mastery right here, and you kind of pick which points you want to go into. All this stuff costs you Slorm. So right here you will see that my camera's kind of blocking it. Mastery 4, passive cooldown recovery. As you kill enemies, you build Slorm, and you could spend this to level up your character, and I will click it, and now it is at 5, and now my clones will shoot a little faster. And on here you have all your different skills, and you can equip 2 skills. So down here on your bar, you have 2 skills that you level and your mastery skill. So there's 3. And you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 total skills. And you might be thinking, oh, that doesn't sound like that many options. There is tons of options inside of the skills themselves that will totally change how they work. And you can even convert the skills to different ailments or different elements, which is very, very cool. So there's lots of customization inside of this skill system. But also, your weapon can have different skills on them as well. So you'll see right here the Staff of Upheaval. And the Staff of Upheaval, you create an upheaval. So your weapons can also have a different skill that goes on these slots right here. And your legendary items can also give you different skills, which means 2 skills that you pick, a mastery skill that you spec out, and then up to 4 additional skills that you can get from basically gear on your character, which gives you a total of 7 skills for your class. Very, very neat. So you've got your attributes, you've got your gear, you've got your weapon, you've got your skills, but you're still not done because, of course, you need to have some massive, huge passive tree as well. And as you are playing, you get these special ancestral stones. Ancestral stones allow you to progress on here, and then you can use Slorm again to upgrade these nodes. So for example, like me on this node right here, mana on hit, mana on hit, mana on kill, max mana. Since we're stacking mana, I need as much as possible. So we were able to spec out this, and there's a ton of different options, and there's even a little search bar at the top. So, you know, you can put in mana, and then it'll show you all the different ones that work. Lots of quality of life in the game as well. Now, last but not least, something that I think is very, very cool, they also give you a full profile breakdown. So to show you champions that you've beat, enemies in the realms, have you defeated the pinnacle boss, your playtime that is always ticking up, enemies slain, breaches closed, all the stuff that you found, your character breakdown. People love stats and information, and you have all this right here, which I thought was a very nice touch. Now, we're still not done in this section. In here on your inventory, you could also like point out the level, the purity. You can actually filter what your inventory shows, which I thought is really neat. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. It's got a transfer crafting materials button, a sort button, and a built-in loot filter. So on here, you could click on the rarity and show exactly what you want to be seen in the game. So for example, we are hiding all normal and magic items. And then we could go on here and say only show blues that have a pure stat on it, or have a perfect roll, or, you know, something like that, or a highlighted stat, so that you can actually have a built-in loot filter, which I thought was very, very neat as well. And then you've got crafting materials. Oh my gosh, there's so many crafting materials inside of Slormancer. Don't worry, you'll see right here, you actually have your own crafting tab. And all of your crafting materials get put into here, so you don't have to worry about manually storing them or anything like that. The game has tons of quality of life like this. now we're going to go on a walk around town, and I think everybody is really going to like this. First thing we're going to do is look at our storage. Now, when you open this, you are given one tab. And again, after almost 13 hours of playing, this is all we've saved. And all of this is low-level stuff. I could probably dump it anyways. And you could get a next tab for gold, and you could just keep spending gold if you need more storage. Obviously, you don't have to spend real money. You're just going to use in-game gold. So that's just your standard stash. But I think what people are really going to like is your gold chest. Now, your gold chest is basically your codex. And for 100,000 gold, you unlock this. And anytime you find a legendary item, you can store it here. And it'll show you exactly what the legendary item is. It shows you how many legendary items are in the game. And you've got a nice little spot to store all of your legendaries in the built-in legendary codex. I absolutely love that. Now, before we get to crafting, I'm going to show you the other vendor that I use all the time. She is right over here. And, you know, she always calls me handsome, which I appreciate. But on here, this is basically your little vendor where you can buy gear from, and the shop is always changing. You could pull a random container if you want. She's got different crafting materials for sale. You could sell items. You could always buy back your items as well. And I just wanted to showcase, too, how nice and convenient it is. After 3 or 4 runs, you might have a stash full of crap, and you would come over here and you would literally just click the rarity you want sold. For example, I've only got 2 blue items right now. Click. And they are gone. But if I wanted them back, they're right here where I could easily just purchase them back if you ended up making a mistake. So this is your NPC Gemma for buying and selling items. So now let's talk about crafting. This is the Iron Bender. And on here, you could basically upgrade your weapon. So basically, you can give an affinity to your weapon. So on here, we've got the weapon that I use, upgrade. Now it gained 1 level to its affinity. We used all the crafting materials that I was saving, I guess, for this video. And now we have leveled up our Slorm Reaper to level 1. Pretty simple. We can go around here. I'm going to go to the other crafter. See, we're gaining power while recording. This is your blacksmith. And on here, you could take a piece of equipment and you can reforge stats on it. So for example, reforge all stats, or you could reforge just the normal ones. So the ones that didn't roll right, you could use crafting materials and get higher tier rolls on your affixes. So that's kind of neat as a way to just make your legendary gear that much more legendary. And then you've got another crafter right here. This is the main crafter. This is the Slormite Expert. And on here, as you play, your items build potential. You then transfer the item in, and then you pick your level of your Slormite. Higher level of Slormite, higher potential of the item actually improving down here. And you could add different things to it for different chances, right? And then what you do is you hit activate, and it was successful. And our item got better. So our perfect elemental resistance got 30% or plus 30. And you see all the differences on our item. So you can reforge, or you can give affinities to your weapon. You could reroll stat ranges, and you could just straight upgrade the item with the awesome crafter inside of Slormancer. Okay, Aaron, I get it. 15 bucks, great quality of life, great crafting, great character progression, lots of options. But what about combat? Is the game actually fun? What am I going to be doing? Excellent question. Now, the campaign for this game is 5 acts, and it has tons of dark humor. It is a lot of fun, especially reading all the dialogue and listening to the lore. You'll understand that right at the beginning of the game. I don't want to spoil anything. So the campaign's pretty fun, not too long. You know, I guess I was literally speed running it. It took us, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours. I would guess the average person is, I don't know, maybe 10 to 20 hours on the campaign. It's not insanely long. Obviously, it depends on how you play it. But anyways, we are now at the end game. We are now at the end game. And this is your little board that you have. And this is our trials that we are working on completing. You have part 1 of the trials. And this is basically just objectives we are trying to complete, which then takes us to part 2 of the trials, which then takes us on to part 3. And this is the warlords that we are going to have to beat. And supposedly, once you complete part 1, part 2, and part 3, this door opens up to where you fight the Pinnacle boss, the person that has taken over the castle that you're trying to get back, okay? So this is your objectives, but what are you actually doing? Well, that is this. These are expeditions. And on here, you have 3 different end game activities. 1, the battlefield. And I kind of think of it as like torment levels right here. So what torment level can you run? Obviously, harder enemies, better rewards. You could choose your adventure where you're actually going to be going to. And you've got, I think, like 8 different locations, which is pretty neat. And you can run a battlefield. On top of that, you have the Slorm Temple. And the Slorm Temple is where you get pure Slorm. Same thing, you have different levels that unlock the higher tiers that you beat. And then you get these mysteries, which I haven't even gotten to yet. And this is where you get your pure Slorm. And it's like this temple that you go through. And then you have a new feature that they have added, which is the Great Forge. And this is actually a rogue-like endgame. And on here again, you pick your torment level. And in here, it's endless waves. So you go through wave 1, and then you pick like a bonus. Then wave 2, and you pick another bonus. And you just keep doing waves, and at each wave, you build up your war chest. And then when you feel like you've had enough, you open your war chest and you get all the goodies. This is a new rogue-like endgame to it. So there's actually a decent amount of endgame in this system. 3 different end games that all feel very different as you are trying to beat challenges to unlock formidable opponents and warlords for the Pinnacle boss. And right now I'm going to show you some of that gameplay. We are now in the prison, and I am my level 44 again. This is my mischievous mage, and we are spec'd into clones. So basically I shoot a big purple energy ball, and I've got clones that basically use my stats and just tear enemies up. I was able to fly through the campaign with this build. But again, remember, this is my 3rd playthrough, so I also understand the game. And ultimately on here, we are finding these breaches. You can see them on the mini-map top right. They are teal. And you are closing these breaches, and every time you go over a breach, it spawns a ton of enemies. Breaking boxes, shooting. Obviously, you could pick a much more active play style with the other classes as well, but we are kind of a sentry totem necromancer, kind of. Shoot 'em. We can also use this. If anybody shoots anything at me, it'll retaliate and bounce it back to them. There's a little barrier. Get out of here. I don't know why I picked such a heart. All right, here we go. Smoked. All of this quality of life, all of this customization, built-in loot filters, 3 different crafters, codex, storage. I mean, for $15, I love supporting indie devs. And I really mean it, like, not a sponsored video. I just think they've done an incredible job. And I know people are gonna look at this and be like, oh, pixelated graphics, no thanks. It's great. It really is great. I mean, just from a fun factor too. We streamed it for 13 hours yesterday. And at no point was like, I'm bored. I just felt like I always had something to do and something to progress. All right, let's keep closing these breaches. We're gonna do 1 full run. Shoot 'em. And it's pretty cool. I've spec'd into clones, and I can make my clones shoot different abilities as well. I can make a melee clones, this big ball that I'm shooting. I could have them shoot that. But since we are mana stacking the way I built it out, I need them to shoot their little projectiles. We've now got a shrine. Game has objectives as well. You can't see it. I just hit an objective. And I will link the Steam in the description below too. Not a sponsored video, and it looks like the last one. I love this too. I was like, why don't other games do this? The mini map, when you pull it up, it pulls the map overlay. It pulls up to the left. It pulls up to the left so it doesn't cover your character. I was like, that is so smart. Because normally it covers your character and you can't see anything. And I was like, huh, that is an excellent idea. That is an excellent idea. Okay, so we finished floor 1. So you run up here. Here's your little portal. We could have went in it way earlier. And then you get to choose. Do you go to the next floor or do you head home? So in this case, we're just going to head home. Breaks down all your stats on the run. Game really likes breaking down stats, which I figure a lot of action RPG community members will like. Slorm reaped, experience gained, gold gained, influence. And bam, you get your reward at the end. Everything's on the ground. And you have completed 1 run. So that is Slormancer. Very high overview. I think the game is fantastic. I think the devs at the indie studio did a terrific job. And I plan on playing it a lot more. Let me know your thoughts in the description below. Is there something this game's missing? Do you think it's great for that value? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. We are 1,100 subscribers away on YouTube from hitting 100,000 subs. If you think I've earned it, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Today is day 28 of my subathon. Yes, the subathon that started with Last Epoch Season 2 is still going, but the clock is finally starting to come down. We are at 18 hours on the clock. So we'll see what happens today. And that's over on Air and Action RPG on Twitch. Don't forget to check out actionrpg.com, my newly launched alpha website. Got a lot of good things cooking there as well. All right, I'm done. Hopefully you're entertained or at least learned something. Aaron, out.